Hello viewer, welcome back to 54A. I'm going to try a bowl today. I've got a piece of Sycamore and I'll give you the approximate size. It is approximately 7 inches in diameter, which is more or less 180mm, 2 inches deep, we're just over 50mm, about 52mm. So, first things first, find the centres. Now this might seem pretty obvious to most people, but nevertheless, if you're a beginner, this is what you do. Because some of these blanks, they look round, but they might not be perfectly round. They've only been rough cut after all. So get yourself a centre finder, that's the easiest thing to do. Pop it on there, draw a few lines. As you can see, I've drawn a few. Now they should match up perfectly if it's a perfect circle. These don't. As you can see, there's a very slight difference. So just choose the middle of that basically, and you're as near as the middle as you're going to get. Get yourself a little centre punch and just pop a little indent right in the middle of those marks. That's somewhere for your live centre to go. Do the same to the other side, the hole there. If I mount that, I can see straight through that hole, so I know when I mount that glue chuck it's dead centre, or as near as dead centre as absolutely possible. Then I can run my bead of hot glue all the way around. So that's the way I'm going to mount this piece. Now, these glue guns aren't expensive, they're only a few pound, but make sure you get them as hot as you possibly can. Put a bead of glue all the way around, stick plenty on. It's easy enough to get off afterwards, but you want a nice firm fix. You might use like half a glue stick, if that, so they're very economical. And that should hold it on. Tickle gun all the way around, that's it, that'll do. Now, just unplug that. Let that go cold, really cold. It only takes 5 minutes. Go and have a cup of coffee or something. There are other ways of mounting this. You can use like a screw chuck, a wormwood screw they call them. I haven't got one at the moment because mine broke. And I dare say there are various other ways of mounting a blank into your lathe for the first time. But this for me works, and they're very simple to do. It gets you out of a problem how to mount it in the first place. Now once that's in the jaws of the chuck, I can then make my mortise on this side, and then I'll just break it off. Right, glue's all nice and dry. Set it up on the lathe now. Now I'm just going to make sure this is perfectly round, because as I say, they never are. Very rarely, unless you cut them yourself. So I'm just going to switch it on quite slow and just go over with a scraper, very gentle cut, until I've got a nice round balanced piece of wood. And just keep doing that till you're satisfied that it's perfectly round. Very nice there. There's still wax here, so it's obviously not perfectly round yet. So it'll take a couple of minutes to do it, but nice and gentle. Don't try digging in too much and you'll get there. Okay, I've just about got that how I want it now. The next thing to do, you want to really just face this off, because there's always going to be a very slight wobble. And just take a very fine skim off. The better the balance is, the easier everything is to work. And I'll just use a parting tool for this. Very, very fine on the edge. And that'll do nicely. Now I can remove the tailstock. Right, now I've got the tailstock out of the way. I'll just take the tool rest round now, and I can start putting the mortise in. Because I prefer mortise. There are pros and cons to it, which I shall explain. If you put a mortise on, in rather, you've got to remember you'll have to leave the bottom of the bowl that little bit thicker, because you've already gone into the wood with the mortise. So that's the cons really. If you put a tenon on, you've got to think how you're going to get rid of it and finish the bottom of the bowl off if you haven't got button jaws. So there's pros and cons for both things really, but I'm just going to put a mortise in there. It's about the width I want to have my mortise, so I'll just dig that out. Now I'm just using my parting tool at the moment. Again, whatever tool you're comfortable with. I sometimes go straight in with a skew chisel. Depends on which is the sharpest at the time. But I'll carry on digging it out and then I'll just show you how to put the shoulders in. I'm sure I've explained this before, but for the benefit of any new viewers, there's an angle on the jaws. Now you want really that angle to correspond with the shoulder. So when your jaws go in, they're actually sitting under that shoulder, so it can't come out of the chuck. That's the idea anyway. If you just leave it straight, the jaws haven't got so much to grip on. So just get your skew chisel, which is angled, and go in straight so the blade is square on with the wood, but that will give you a cut, undercutting that shoulder. He said, hitting the camera. Now that jaw will fit nice and snug inside. You can't pull it straight out. It's got something to grip onto. Right, that's all ready, but I'm just going to put a bit of shape on here before I actually turn it round. Of course, it's easy to get at now. Just going onto a scraper now for a bit. Now this Sycamore, it's a beautiful wood to turn. It's not too hard, it's not too soft, it's just right, perfect if you're just learning. You get a lovely smooth finish on it. So I'm going to carry on doing that, a bit more shaping. I should probably leave a little foot just round there. Just like that. So you can see the the bowl will have just something nice to sit on when it's actually finished. So a bit more shaping on there and I'll get back to you. Before I carry on, a bit of dust extraction I think. Sorry about the noise. This sycamore sands down really nice as well, so I say it's a perfect wood for beginners, but it's also very versatile. It's great for colouring, it's great for burning, you know, whatever you like really. It just seems to take anything you want to put on it. That's ready for some sanding sealant now, before I use the Yorkshire Grit. Just raises the grain very slightly. Put a board over the bed of the lathe to protect it. You don't want anything dribbling on that. That's it. Now that's dry already. Just a little bit of Yorkshire Grit over that. There's no need to rub this down once you put your sanding sealant on. Usually you go over it with a bit of wire wool or very very fine sandpaper, but the Yorkshire Grit will do the job. So get said Yorkshire Grit with the lathe still and plaster some on wherever you want it, and work it in for a minute or two by hand. That means, well, I mean with the lathe still. Give it a good scrubbing. Make sure it's well worked into the grain of the wood. Doesn't take long at all. Once you've got it in there good and proper, you can turn the lathe on. Slow speed to start with, and then you can increase the speed as you feel the Yorkshire Grit doing its job and the wood getting smoother and smoother. So we've got a nice fresh piece of paper towel ready, but I'm going to use, this is just for finishing off. I'm going to use the piece that I applied the grit with to start with. I'll just increase the speed a bit now. Now we've got a nice fresh piece of paper towel to take off any remaining grit that's on there. You can see it's coming off. And when your paper towel is clear, there's no more left on there and you're finished. Right, removing it off a glue chuck. Now, a lot of people, they just get an old chisel in there and force it off, but I tend to take a lot of the spare glue off with a skew chisel, but not all of it, because you don't want this just to fly out off without you expecting it. So I'll just leave enough on, and then with a bit of luck grab a hold of it and it'll pull off. There you go. Right, all secure. Now I want to leave a really wide rim on here because I'm going to add some little inserts which are going to be epoxied in, and these are the inserts I'm going to use, these little pieces of yew, and I want those to sit in there all the way around. So I'm going to leave a bit to play with and mark it off where I want to go to. Well, I reckon where this little wax line is, that's where I want to hollow out to. About there. Again, any tool you like, a scraper, carbide cutter. This is a spindle gouge which I do like using, but I do need the practice with it, so that's why I'm using it. And I'm just using pull and push cuts with the very edge of the blade there. It's no good having it like that, you'll get a catch. So more or less on its side. Okay, now I'm going to use it the other way around, which is rubbing that bevel on the piece of wood itself, and I'll just go into the centre. Okay, I've just started using it the other way around now, which is rubbing the bevel there on the wood itself, on the piece itself, and just going into the centre. And carry on like that. Already that's coming on very nicely, but there's a long way to go. My trusted depth gauge, like so. I've only gone down not quite an inch, so I can go down another inch here, so I've got quite a deep dish in there. Right, see you later. Right, I've just started, I've more or less done the hollowing out now, so I've just started putting a bit more shape now on this outside edge. The old trusty scraper again, a little bit more height needed on there, that's it. And I'll carry on like that now till I've took quite a bit off, made this quite a lot of a shallower profile. Alright, I'm happy with that shape now, a lot shallower. There are bits now that, like the grain of the wood, I've got to try and smooth out a bit before I sand it down, otherwise it'd be really hard work with the sandpaper. That seems to be working. I'm going to turn the speed up a bit more though. I'm going over with a nice sharp skew chisel, and I might even go over with a spindle gouge yet. Okay, the next step is to clean this face up here and then put a recess in for those little wedges to go in. Right, that's the recess cut in. It's just about deep enough. It'll all be skimmed off anyway, so we're more or less there. So now it's out of the chuck and over to the comfy chair and try and work something out. Okay, now I've had a bit of a quandary, but I think I've worked it out. I was going to put just these wedges in like this, but then I thought there's going to be too big a gap. So I've made some little quarters this side, and that's how I'm going to do it now. Slightly rounding these semicircular ones, so they follow, more or less follow the contour of the bowl, and make some little quarters to fit in around there. So that's what I'm going to do. And to do that, you just need a little sanding disc on your Dremel type tool and round it off a bit. And try it out. That'll do. That little wedge in there like that. So I'll try and get those to fit in all the way around. Right, I've got them all laid out. I've put them in the actual bowl and taken them out, and that's the order I want to put them back in. The next stage is to mix some epoxy. I'm going to use some 30-minute epoxy. I just hope I've got enough. Put all that in the rim, set the pieces in, and then put some more epoxy. If I've run out of 30-minute, then at least I've got them all in place, and I'll put some 5-minute round the top. So we'll see how that goes. But just to mix the epoxy up now, I've got an old bowl that I was mucking about with and it didn't work, so I'm going to mix it up in that. I doubt very much if I'm going to have enough, but I can soon go and get some more. Trusty lollipop stick, and I'll start mixing, so I'll see you later. I just want to get them in at the moment, and I can position them when I've got them all in place. Squeezing them well down, and looks like I will have enough epoxy after all, which is nice. Don't think this is all going to be skimmed off anyway, so I should have plenty there actually. Yep, I think that looks okay. There's a little bit left in the bowl, so I'll chuck that in as well. That's not gone too bad so far. I think if I'd have used the 5-minute epoxy, I wouldn't have had enough time to position them all. Hasn't it gone quiet? So it doesn't matter if it goes over the edge a bit, it's all got to be back on the lathe yet. Just making sure everywhere is nicely topped up. Last few scrapings and that should do, and I'll just leave that to dry now It says 30 minutes, but I should probably leave it a good few hours. Okay, by the magic of video editing, it is now a few hours later. Everything's nicely set. So I'm going to take it over to the lathe now. I shall skim this nice and flat. I shall take some more out of the actual bowl. I've still got quite a depth to go. And generally finish it off. Yeah, that's coming along quite nicely. I'm just taking very, very light cuts. As you can see, hardly taking anything off. I don't want to dig into this at all. That's nearly there for that surface, and I'm going to dig quite a bit more out of the bowl yet. So I'll carry on doing that for a bit, I think. Well, I've just got to the stage now where I'm just applying the Yorkshire Grit all over, including the resin, and put it all on the outside. Just been working it in by hand with the lathe still for a couple of minutes, and now I'll switch the lathe on and let it do its work. Well, I'm just finishing off the polishing process now. I had just about got it done, and then I checked inside and I could feel just a couple of very tiny little ridges, so I wasn't satisfied with that. So I scraped all the polish off, etc. Got the fine scraper on it, took the ridges out, and now I've just gone back to sanding it all down. I'm just about to polish it up again now. So hopefully, it feels like I've got it this time. Feels a lot better in there now. It was just bugging me. You probably couldn't have picked it up on the camera, but I could feel them and I knew they were there. And that's not good enough for me anyway, as far as I'm concerned. Oh, that's a lot better. Right, that's the first coat on the inside. Give it another couple and I'll show you the finished thing. Well, there you go. That is the finished bowl, and I love it. I absolutely love it. This must be one of the best looking bowls that I've ever done. Beautiful shine on it. Look at that. I love that. The epoxies come out very well indeed, because I haven't used it that much, so to get that kind of finish on it, I'm very pleased. Nice shape to it. Some lovely markings on this Sycamore. It doesn't really show up when you're cutting it, but when you sand it down and polish it, you get these beautiful shades coming through. The U is polished up so nicely, and what can I say other than I'm chuffed to bits. That's English for I'm very pleased. So there you go, viewer. I hope you like that one. I absolutely adore that, and the ideas are endless for what you can put in these kinds of things. I did think about undercutting the bowl, but this is the way I wanted to do this one. Maybe the next time I'll undercut it a bit, do something a bit different. But there you go. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Please like, share and subscribe if you like what you've seen. Leave a comment and I'll always try and answer them. Might take a while, but I'll get there in the end. So thanks very much to all my subscribers, old and new, and I'll see you soon for the next one. I hope it's as good as this. Bye for now.